North America, a creature is said to exist. A creature that people are encountering. With far too many reports to ignore, there are elements of truth behind these accounts that mankind can no longer ignore.
Breaking news out of Texas, Bigfoot is real.
Could a breeding population of large, upright, hairy hominids really exist in North America? Or is there something more paranormal at work here, deep in the woods? If just one footprint, one wood knock, or one howl is real, then man's understanding of primate evolution
would be changed forever.
Join the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective as they delve further into the mysteries of Bigfoot and other paranormal phenomena through the eyes of witnesses, investigators, critics, and skeptics. Join us as we look to discover what lurks from behind tall trees.
All right. Looks like it's just you and me tonight, Charlie.
Yes, sir. Could be with better company.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, originally we were supposed to have a researcher I know from Western New York on tonight, but he had to reschedule, unfortunately. Gwen was supposed to join us, but she might be popping in later on tonight. So, yeah, as we've been advertising, we're doing something a little different tonight in lieu of a special guest. We're going to be looking at a couple of alleged Bigfoot videos. We picked out 5 that are, definitely on the more convincing side, and we're just gonna look at them, break them down.
So we're not going to include the Freeman film or Patty or the Patterson-Gimlin, right? Those two are off on their own. These are the next 5 after that, right?
Yeah. So yeah, this is all definitely subjective. This really isn't in any particular order, but yes, just to clarify. This list will not include the Patterson-Gimlin film, nor will it include the Freeman footage. It's also just going to be just pure raw video footage from an actual camera. So no thermal infrared footage, no trail camera footage. We're not going to do any videos that might be copyrighted. So there may be some videos
that we don't need to get in trouble by who.
Yeah. So there may be
you
some
did that last year, Mike.
We like to have added, but we won't be able to. So better safe than sorry with that. Before we get started, anyone who might have tuned in last week when and Carrie were on, we dropped our first teaser trailer for the second episode of our Devil's Road series. Really excellent, if I don't say so myself. So
Brendan did an awesome job.
Yeah, he really did.
Really fantastic.
So we're gonna run that. We're just gonna run that real quickly for anyone who didn't see it, and that's where we're gonna kick things off.
All right.
You think it was paranormal, and why do you think there was something more to the smell than that? So and then you can say, well, the reason I know. So that's my question.
Okay. So we're stopped at the stop sign. I look out into the cornfield, and I see a huge black creature walking across the cornfield.
So we're in central Pennsylvania this weekend, pretty much in the center of Appalachia. We're actually in Gwen's backyard. According to her, apparently
Stay perfectly still.
There's been a lot of reported sightings in the area.
You hear that? Yeah, I heard some.
So that's the tree, huh?
This creature was huge. It had to have been 8 or 9 feet tall. It was as broad as a barn, muscular, and black from head to toe. And I was completely captivated by it. I couldn't figure out what it was I was looking at.
Not even here 20, 30 minutes, and coming from that way, just heard a very faint but distinct howl.
So I just heard a howl.
Come up, start over. Like in one direction, it's like flash. It looks like it's moving. We're gonna take a break for a little bit, let things settle down again.
Charlie, can you see if you can find out what's going on up by Gwen?
Keep hearing about Bigfoot and stuff in this area. You saw it?
So Gwen has seen what looks like she thought was our flashlight.
He's flashing up in the trees.
I forgot the bolt cutter.
I don't know. It sounds distant.
Ever since then, I have not been able to get this creature out of my mind.
It's so sweet.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, the music in the background and just the different camera angles.
And I really thought Gwen was just phenomenal too with that.
Oh yeah, just very authentic and natural, and yeah, it's fantastic.
And it really was a eventful weekend too in that regard. We didn't just do Bigfoot stuff. Gwen's house is supposedly haunted. I know she's talked about it a couple of times. Gwen's house is supposedly haunted. So our first night, we did some ghost hunting. We actually got some possible EVPs that we're still looking through. But then that second night out in the state game lands, that's really when shit went down. We were there not even 40 minutes, not even 40, 50 minutes when we heard that first howl. That first possible howl.
Though we had a pretty decent sized group. I mean, we broke up into 3 teams, but that team, the first team, there was like 4 or 5 people in that group, plus Sean and I, plus you and Brendan. So I mean, that was a decent sized amount of people in the woods. So we definitely probably disrupted something's evening walk or evening time or something.
Yeah, there are a lot of us. There are 1, 2, 3, 4. I think they're probably about
like 9 or 10.
Yeah, maybe even that. I know, we had like a fucking straight up convoy going there. We had like 3 or 4 cars, but yeah, we had that howl. We had those weird knocks that happened between where you and Sean were, me and Brendan were. Me and Brendan were the only ones who heard them. Yeah. And then Gwen's group had that weird thing going on with those lights. So all this is going to be in the episode. So yeah, I'm definitely really, really looking forward to Brendan finishing up with that and that getting dropped.
Yeah.
That can drop a couple of months from now. So, but it's just a great location too. Central Pennsylvania, pretty much in the middle of Appalachia. There's a piss ton of reports coming out of the area, major databases, just anecdotal ones, just stories I've come across online and stuff like that, hearsay. So it's it sounds like a really, really solid area. I think we're really lucky that we've
plus it's close to us.
Yeah,
somewhere for 2.5 hours for me, like 3.5 for you, but that's still that's a walk in the park compared to some of the places where we go where it's 5, 6, and you know what I mean, which isn't terrible either, but that drive home sometimes is kind of weird. You get weary.
And it's not like Bald Eagle. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bald Eagle State Forest, it's a great area. Bald Eagle State Forest, it's a great area. Really squatchy. We've had some weird stuff happen there, but it's almost 4 hours for me. It's like 3 hours, Yeah, so this really is just like a really perfect, ideal situation we have.
Plus it's rugged. It's really rugged. I mean, there's mountains there. You know what I mean, and nice, hollers or hollows, hollows. It's really wooded. A lot of farmland. A lot of farmers around. So it's a great place to have a lot of food sources. So.
Yeah, and the thing about those areas too is you have the people there are very conservative type, keep to themselves. So even if they did have things that were going on, a lot of people are going to be really hesitant to share that information. Share their stories. Yep. I've always said just about that area in central PA, kind of like where Gwen lives. The Bald Eagle area. There's a lot of Amish there. I know they're kind of like wary, apprehensive about interacting with outsiders, but. And I've heard from some people that yes, they do have stories about this stuff. I'll have to find a way to have some of those people open up about some of the things that they might have experienced, because anything that comes out of their mouth is probably going to be the truth. Probably going to be the truth or what they think is the truth. That's just how those people are. It's how they conduct themselves. But I guess that's
you're gonna have to find someone that either spend a lot of time and gain their trust, or hopefully you have someone that's in the neighboring towns that can kind of be like the bridge to some of the people. But yeah, I think especially with us going out there, they would probably be very tight-lipped about it. Maybe they'd tell Gwen, but I don't think they'd tell me.
Yeah, definitely honest. But yeah, great area. I'm looking forward to going back. We're going back a week or two from now to finish up. So hopefully we'll have some more weird stuff happen to us when we go out on our night ops. And the crazy thing too is we don't even have to go that far. Like there's literally weird stuff that happens on Gwen's property.
Well, that's the thing. I think we should concentrate on staying on Gwen's property. I know she was nervous because she had some people do some work. I guess she had some work done on her property, and she kind of messed up some of the wooded area.
Mm.
So she was like, "Oh, I hope I don't, upset whatever's in there. Either paranormal or whatever.
Yeah.
Make them upset." And I told them, like, maybe plant an apple tree or something, or maybe plant like a tree that's fruit bearing, and this way you can.
She's got that farm across the street from her too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But I think a lot of stuff goes on in that creek, right? In between, like, because there's a power line right there too.
Yeah, there's a power line.
Well,
yeah, like, I don't know much about the actual, like, I know of the creek. I don't know too much about it, but they say they travel, like these things, if they're real, they travel the waterways.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, that one's kind of cool because it's below, all the houses are up here, and that's down probably like 35, 40 feet. So that'd be perfect to just,
so
by.
See you. Nobody will know the wiser.
Mm-mm.
And I'm glad too. Like, I know one of the places that they're really big on out there is Weiser State Forest. Me personally, I'm not really a fan of the area. Like, it's definitely decent. It's definitely decently squatchy. We got some weird audio from there, but I just can't stand that mile-long trek down that road. And you got the main roads that are right there. You could still hear that.
It's.
I still have a trail camera that's been.
Is that the one that they can't find? Do you think someone stole it?
I wouldn't. I kind of know the exact area. I gotta next time I go there. Like, I'm just gonna go straight there and try to find it.
Yeah, because was that one of the good ones or one of the other ones?
It's the one that doesn't have any sound.
Oh, okay, all right.
But if it's there, it's there. If not, whatever. If it is there, though, it's been up here since March, so it's gonna have
probably out of batteries.
Yes, yeah. If it didn't run on batteries, it's gonna have 4 or 5 months worth of video. So hopefully it'll something interesting popped up.
Maybe get it on the week. When we go out there in a couple of weeks, maybe go out there first, like you said.
I think that's what I'm gonna do. Like that Friday when I get there, I think I'm just gonna shoot straight over to Weiser and see if I could get it. I saw the the coordinates of where I dropped it off. So.
Bring a mountain bike. Bring a mountain bike so you can just cruise that. You can do that mile of
yeah, right.
That rocky road on a mountain bike. Be quicker about it.
All right. So
first video, right?
Yeah. So first video, we're gonna get started. So the first one, this is called the Craven footage. This was filmed in Saskatchewan. Yeah. So this was filmed outside of the town of Craven, Saskatchewan, which is up in like central western Canada. This was uploaded on YouTube on September 20th, 2013 by an individual named Brian Johnson. It's the only video on his channel. So I'm going to play that first. So we're going to do that now.
Let's do the whole screen so you can see it better.
So that's pretty much the gist of it. So Charlie, what are your initial takeaways from that after watching?
First of all, I'm going to preface all these with I want Brendan to do a 3-minute video on it.
I think he's actually in the process of.
Is he good? Good. It's funny because 5 years ago I'd be like, "Oh my God, it's a Bigfoot," But now you're doing what we do last bunch of years. You don't know how far off the drop off is from that road.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't know. I mean, he said there's an arm that's. I didn't see it. You know what I mean? An arm reach out. But I don't know. I wasn't there, but I just that's not one of the ones that will convince me that that's a Bigfoot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So David Letzer asks, is it known what he used to film it with? Does look upright walking. I think it was filmed with a smartphone of some kind. This was back in 2013, so the iPhones were still coming out around then. Let's keep in mind too that the top iPhones back then, about 9-10 years ago, I think they were only filming in 10 or 12 megapixels, somewhere around that range. For context, the human eye sees in 576 megapixels, so that's a pretty big difference. Just worth pointing that out. So I'll play it. Yeah, so I'll play it again. While I play it,
Could you put full screen so maybe it makes it look a little bit bigger?
Definitely. Yeah, while I play it, I'll just go over a couple of interesting facts about. I'll just go over some notable facts about the video. I'm just gonna put it on mute too. Okay, you can still hear me, right, Charlie?
I hear you loud and clear, brother.
So, so it was originally called Bigfoot Saskatchewan. Like I said, it was uploaded on September 20th, 2013 by a man named Brian Johnson. That was the name of the YouTube account. Only video on the channel. And the description was they were the description of the video said we were on drive towards, this is word for word, towards evening when we saw something walking in the ditch. We slowed down, pulled over, and recorded what we could before the figure disappeared into the bush. Recorded near Craven, Saskatchewan. In a subsequent version that Adam Bird, who analyzed the video on his YouTube channel that he posted, he says that it was a family that was out on an evening drive in that area outside of Craven, Saskatchewan. They spotted a figure on the roadside. It's human shaped. They said it was covered in brown hair. It definitely seems like a solid color, solid shade. The person driving pulled over to film the creature as it disappeared. The few seconds that we have, it does capture what appears to be a bipedal figure. You could argue that the head is cone-shaped, broad-shouldered. I think two important things to note about this video are the wind, and it is fairly sunny out. Adam Bird, who analyzed the video, said that he tried contacting the people who gave him the video, but received no response. So the biggest issue with this footage seems to be that just the location. People say, it's in Craven, Saskatchewan. If you look on a map, I'll pull up a map of the area right now. But when you look,
they say it's a ditch. That looks like a gorge. It's a pretty big. Not just a ditch.
Oh yeah.
I mean that's like, you'd call that a glen in my town. Jesus.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
No, it's pretty steep. It's pretty steep. But the biggest knock that this video gets from skeptics and naysayers is just the location that is the location that it's in. As you can see here, gonna pull up Google Maps. This is crazy. So that's Craven, Saskatchewan, right there. The surrounding area, and I'll acknowledge this. It's it's very flat. A lot of farmland. So I could I could definitely understand that skepticism. If you zoom in more, though,
You do have a lot of tributaries to that river, though.
you do. You have a lot of you have a lot of tributaries, and a lot of waterways, and there are a good amount of green areas that run parallel to these waterways. You have these you have these little stretches of forest here. They look like each individual probably like a few hundred feet, maybe 1,000 feet or so wide, but it could probably go ahead.
Not for nothing. That looks like New Jersey, probably aerially too. We have sightings of them. Sussex County, Morris County, Passaic County. So if you did an aerial view of Passaic County, it would look similar to that as well. And there has been, so to say like with just the area of it, it is British Columbia, so there is a bunch of land up there where it could probably,
This is Saskatchewan, so it's kind of like central western. Central western Canada. I think it's I think it goes without looking at it.
Saskatchewan. Sorry.
From east to west, I think it goes Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia, but don't quote me on that. So yes, there's a lot of flat farmland in the area, but as you said, there's a lot of waterways. There's a lot of forested areas, wooded areas running along those waterways and creeks. And, it's important to mention, farms equal food.
Now, if you want, like, what's directly below it in the United States, though? Is it Minnesota or is it like North Dakota?
Find out. Yeah, I think one of the bumblefuck flyover states. North Dakota, Louisiana. So it's right there. I think I saw the map on the screen. Yeah,
North Dakota. Yeah, so North Dakota. I mean, North Dakota doesn't really have that many sightings with the United States either, right? That's one of the states with the lowest amount, correct?
Yeah, not necessarily, but yeah, so you see a lot of that, and it looks like east here. If you follow this is called got the name right here somewhere, Quapele River or something like that. Quapele River. I definitely botched the name, but there definitely appear to be a couple like swampy, marshy areas, that are that are going through here too. A poster, I forget what video, what breakdown it was, but there was one YouTube commentator who claimed to live in the area. They said that this footage was filmed in the Quapele Valley, which is about 9.7 kilometers from Craven. So I think it's around somewhere over here-ish.
I got you.
So if that's the case, if that's the case, if it was filmed, if it was filmed like around here, it's probably one of the more ideal areas in this region where something like this could be. You have your waterways, you have your patches of greenery. The rest of this area looks pretty flat. This area here, the terrain looks relatively hilly.
What do you think they farm with the wheat? Or is it too far north to do corn, or what do you think the crops that they farm up there?
I have no idea. Yeah. Probably the usual quintessential stuff. Like look here, there's like a trail, there's a trailhead right, a couple of trailheads right here. I think there's a wildlife preserve somewhere around here too. But yeah. And the other thing too, when I did my research in this area, back in 2011, 2011, this video was first posted in 2013. The population of Craven, the town that this was filmed outside of, in 2011, 2 years before, according to the census, was only 214 people.
Oh, so there's no one around. So
yeah, keep that in mind.
Hmm.
214 people. For reference, Saskatchewan has, the region of Saskatchewan has a population of 1.1 million people, and it's about 251,000 point. It's about 251.7 thousand square miles. When you do the math, that equates to about 4.37 people for every square mile.
Yeah. So there's I mean, so the area, they could be walking out right and plain sight, but
Yeah.
there's no one around to see them. So,
And
yeah,
that's
like I said,
Yeah, like
uh,
that's one of the things. People say, "Oh, well, there really isn't anywhere to hide, anywhere for them to hide out there." And that was actually Brendan's biggest concern with it. I'm sure he's gonna emphasize that, if and when he makes his 3-minute video about this, which I'm really,
yeah, but nothing really out there to hide from, though. You know what I mean?
precisely. Like
Yeah.
4.37 people every square miles. That's like taking you, me,
Hmm.
Sean, Brendan, Gwen, and I don't know. We cut Sean's legs off, and you just have that every
Sean's small enough. Yeah.
square mile. So for
I'm
comparison,
joking, Sean.
for every square mile in New York City, there's 27,493 people for every square mile in New York City.
Yeah.
In New York State, there's 357 people for every square mile in New York State. So that's a pretty significant, significant distinction there.
Yeah.
This was supposedly filmed in a valley, I think called the Cupel Valley or something like that. I'm definitely botching the name. I did read that west of Craven, in this valley, it supposedly goes on for like hundreds of miles. I read, one person saw, one person posted. There's supposedly like a huge moose population there.
Oh,
So,
yeah?
in my opinion, if whether something resides or just pass through the area or scampered over and wander through or whatever, I don't really think food source is much of an issue. I think the aspect of it having nowhere to hide, it's kind of trivial, because number one, yeah, I think there's a good amount of there's a good amount of greenery and waterways,
Greenways. Yeah.
something to pass through undetected. That and just that area, 4.37 people for every square mile
Yeah.
in Saskatchewan in general. In that area, like you said, Charlie, there's probably no people to hide from.
And they probably heard the car coming or whatever, and then decided to walk away. But like I said, it's it's just the video itself isn't enough for me to convince.
Yeah, for sure.
Holding the Patterson Gimlin film, to at that level. Yeah, this is kind of like here. You know what I mean? Like there's no money shot, there's no swinging arms. It's kind of like something bouncing around and then disappearing. So.
But to your point though, you mentioned it hears the car. I think the wind really plays a big role. Who's to say that number one, the subject in question might not have heard the car driving up?
It either heard it or felt.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you can hear it. I mean, when we speaking about when we were at by Gwen's couple, a month ago, Sean and I were high enough up where the wind kind of affected us hearing the howl. We heard the first howl, but we didn't hear the second howl you had. So I could see our ears, because we don't have like the power, anything helping us with the hearing. But with with this thing supposed to be some super creature with sight and hearing and senses, I'm sure it probably either heard or felt the car coming.
And then the other thing to consider too was the direction that the wind was, the direction that the wind was going. I mean, yes, it was headed away from those people, down to that, heading down that ditch or incline, whatever the fuck it is, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But depending, I really think what direction the wind was blowing probably really plays probably could play a big role too. If the wind was blowing from, it looks like if it was evening, it looks like the sun was coming kind of from like, where they were filming to like, the left. So
Yeah.
if that was west, it looks like, they were facing probably like southwestish, maybe. I'm assuming this is
So
like without looking up at the video, but if that wind was blowing in the direction towards the filmer, the person who was filming, it's possible, it's very much possible that that subject, whatever it was, probably wouldn't even be able to smell them, let alone hear them. So yeah, it's an interesting video. I definitely don't think it should be as readily dismissed as a lot of skeptics and naysayers do.
but did anyone investigate it though? Was there anyone? I know you said the one guy commented on the video, but did he go out and investigate the spot, or do they know what road that is where you could probably, someone can go and do a comparison, a size comparison? I'm sure it's probably a pretty popular road.
If it's happened, yeah. If it's happened, I haven't found any information on it. But definitely all valid questions. I mean, if you look at the beginning of the video, you're able to see kind of like way out, and it looks like it's just grassland and flat land. Like you don't see no houses, no nothing.
Right.
Nothing like that. Was Dave here say? Vehicle type and weight also play a part. Wish she gave a road shot to and from. Yeah, I agree. That's like to your point, Charlie. Dave here makes a really really good point. All that definitely could have helped. You have to keep in mind too when stuff like this happens. If stuff like this is supposedly happening, your mind's racing. You're probably freaking out, bugging out. You're not really thinking like on your feet like that. So that's kind of why I give the supposed witnesses and filmers the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But yeah, Dave, well, they're definitely all valid. Understandable questions. So yeah, before we move on to our next video, what's your final ruling on this one, Charlie?
Yeah, it's not enough information. I mean, this area is fine. It's just not enough clarity in the video.
Yeah, nothing to say it's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely inclined to agree. I would say though, out of all the possible footage out there, I think this one here has probably some of the better odds of actually being the real deal.
Yeah. No, like I said, the location and the fact that there's no people around. Definitely probably a great habitat. Just wish it was a little bit more than just something bouncing around and then disappearing behind a tree.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, you want to do the next one?
Yeah, so this next one, we're heading southeast of the Canadian border. This one happened this is our next one is this one's pretty well known, the Michigan Eagle Cam footage.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard of this one before, so we're gonna go ahead and play this, and then I'll give it a little quick one.
Oh yeah, I like this one.
So if you look in the upper right corner, all right. So what are your initial takeaways from that one, Charlie?
This one was always very intriguing to me. The fact that I don't know how many people knew that camera is up there, but you figure it can't be that many, and I'm sure it's way off in the boondocks somewhere, so it's not very accessible to a lot of people. So I always thought this one was pretty legit, and it looks like the nest is pretty high up, so the fact that that thing looks so small, it's. I always thought this one was like one of the more legitimate ones.
So really interesting backstory. Behind this one. Really interesting backstory behind this one. So it was filmed on an official DNR Eagle camera.
Mm-hmm.
It was first posted around September 2016. The Eagle camera in question was in Beulah, that's Beulah, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
near the Platte River State Fish Hatchery, which is about 30 miles west of Traverse City.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, yeah, about 30 miles west of Traverse City. So this came from CarbonTV.com. They're a Bingham Farms-based company that specializes in online video content related to outdoors material on its YouTube channel.
Right.
So around this time, Carbon TV, they partnered with Michigan DNR to install the Eagle camera in question on state land adjacent to the fish hatchery.
Right.
So important. That Eagle camera went live back in March. And this is posted in September. So in theory, this camera could have been up there for about at least 5 or 6 months.
Right.
So let's talk about this figure. It appears to be solid black in color.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely walking on 2 legs. I'll throw it up here again. Just want everyone to bear with me because I'm simultaneously producing and
Doing an awesome job.
Yeah, I'm trying. Anyway, so where were we? Yeah, so figure definitely clears, yeah. How whacking, what is that something sound?
What was that? You were kind of muffled.
We got a weird crumpling sound going on. Is that coming from your end?
Oh, that's me. Yeah, it's me. Sorry.
So, yeah, figure appears solid. Appears to be a solid color. Definitely dark, probably like a black or something like that. In terms of its color, definitely walking on 2 legs.
You muted?
With its arms before it starts walking like along a down tree. Let me try and get to that part. Yeah, so right here it's fiddling with something. Here it's walking along this down, looks like it's walking along this down tree. And this part here is interesting. You see it right there, right? Wait for it, right there. It kind of looks like it falls or trips over itself.
Yeah.
And then it makes that jump and just, resumes heading down the ditch.
So you think it might be a person?
I'm just pointing out what I'm observing right now. And that tumble falling it does, and that noticeable jump before disappearing down the slope are a couple, are 2 things that a lot of viewers, people who have observed the video, have noticed before. So,
do they have between the 2 departments, the hatchery and the Eagle? Did they have any people saying that they're in the area?
Yeah. So I'm going to touch on that in a second. Where am I here with my notes? So based on I'd say it's kind of hard to gauge the size of this figure.
Right.
I'm gonna bring up a map right now showing where the hatchery is located.
Do they say how high up the camera's in the tree?
I haven't found any information on that. If there's any available, anyone feel free to share. So here's the hatchery. So we're gonna zoom out. All right. So first off, we're gonna zoom out. And I just want to show everyone where it is in relation, just like Michigan in general. So it's here.
Yeah, it's all the way up there. Wow.
Yeah, it's here in northwestish Michigan. You could see Traverse City right there.
Mm.
When we zoom in, yeah, the area, it looks super rural. The hatchery itself is in a very, very wooded area, and if you look here, the hatchery backs into this huge wooden patch right here
Yeah.
of just undeveloped woods. There's a couple of trails going in there, and I did some measurements. It goes about a mile long and about a mile wide. So that's
Wow.
about 1 square mile of just pure woods right there. Before we get to
Hmm.
those two intersecting roads,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming it's probably around this area here where the eagle, where the eagle counter in question was probably set up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the area, it's definitely, ideal. Definitely ideal in that regard. I'm assuming, like I said, that's probably where they set it up. There was one YouTuber I read in the comments who claimed that it was supposedly a Native American man dressed in a ceremonial garb who happened to be passing through the area. And supposedly, when he saw the video, he was like, "Oh yeah, that was me." I haven't found anything to corroborate this. So
No.
this was in Benzie County, Michigan. I have found multiple Bigfoot reports on different databases coming out of Benzie County, and the interesting thing too is it's a pretty big county, Benzie County. The majority of the reports I found of alleged Bigfoot reports I found coming out of this county were within close proximity to that fish hatchery.
Yeah.
One of them was even literally, like, the exact location, literally down the road from it.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, there was actually a recent report back in January 2022. It made the news headlines, which was located, and this happened in Shelby, Michigan, which is in western Michigan, about 95 miles southwest from that hatchery. So the air, so I think all that definitely gives credence to the,
Oh, hell yeah.
to the area. It's definitely wooded enough where something, whether it resides there or passes through, could go through undetected. The figure in
Mhm.
question, definitely something bipedal. I guess the biggest thing is, and tell me what you think, Charlie. Do you think its movements, its gestures, the tumbling, walking along the fallen log, that big ass jump that it made, were those
Well,
more human-like gestures, or could you give that the benefit of the doubt? What do you think?
well, that actually makes it more, less paranormal, more missing link, more, you know what I mean? 'Cause I got a cat at home, and some of the stupid shit he does, you know what I mean? He's a clumsy, he'll knock shit over and falls over, you know what I mean? So, for being a graceful cat, you know what I mean? So I'm sure they have their moments where they're tripping, they have to jump, and you know what I mean? So I'll give it a pass on that, you know what I mean? So, it's maybe, like I said, maybe it didn't realize it was being, because to have like a ceremonial garb, ceremonial, costume on. Usually they're more, flamboyant and more like a lot of, you know what I mean? So if I have to be all black, and it almost looks like it's like a black, like worker's jumpsuit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, very
More,
solid. And if that's
yeah,
human clothing, it looks very heavy too.
yeah. So I mean, like I said, it's to be something ceremonial. I guess it's a friggin' funeral they're going to, because it's all black. Yeah. So I don't know. That's my
And,
opinion.
one thing I didn't think about this at the time when I was doing my research. I should have looked up, like, Native American ceremonial garbs, from
Hmm.
tribes that are indigenous to that area. I think that could have, shed a little light on that. Our buddy Dave says,
Yeah.
interesting. If someone faked it, they would need to know the camera location and make sure they were in view of the camera due to the camera angle.
Yeah.
That's actually a really, really good point right
It's a
there.
great point. That's a very good point. And
Yep.
it's, because like I said, did they interview any of the people that put the camera up there, or they're in the two departments that knew that it was there? You know what I mean? So,
And considering too how this was elevated off the ground,
Yeah.
been up there for, supposedly, unless someone came up and changed it or whatever, that camera's been up there for several months probably.
But
it's probably
with that area, since
No,
it's a nesting area, wouldn't you think it'd be a protected area? Because I know in Pennsylvania, when the one waterfall, I don't know if it was Raymond Skill or one of the waterfalls, had a peregrine falcon in there at a nesting site, and they shut the whole place down because they just didn't want any. You were not allowed to go into that park because you don't want to disturb the birth of the the baby falcons and and just like the natural.
Yeah, so I think with that, you're definitely going to have to fact check me. I know back in the day, the peregrine falcon was on the endangered species list. I don't know if it's still on the endangered species list. If it still is, I don't know when this instance you mentioned, but
Probably 5-10 years ago.
Oh yeah, so that probably gives it its privileges. I know the bald eagle.
That's protected, isn't it? I thought it was protected.
It's definitely not endangered.
Oh, I guess that's in Michigan though. It's not endangered, but I think it's definitely protected though, isn't it?
Yeah, it could very well be protected. I guess we'll have to follow up on that. But yeah, like that point Dave made was really really great point. They would have to know the angle. They have to know the camera was there in the first place, and even if that was something non-human, just between like its altitude, how long it's there, there's definitely no human scent on it if it hasn't been unless people are going up there to like maintain it or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely gonna have to go, definitely have to go to the inconclusive section. But yeah, what are your final, what's your final on that?
Like I said, I always liked it, so nothing has made me say it's not a Bigfoot. And I show that video to some people that don't believe in Bigfoot at all. I'm like, well, check this thing out. You know what I mean? So I like that video. We got to. I'm running out of batteries, bro. So we gotta get the next video.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so this next one we have the Sundance, Utah video. Sundance, Utah. It's right outside of Provo Canyon, which is a pretty big hot spot. They have the Sundance Film Festival. That's in January, though.
It's in wintertime.
Yeah, this video here, though, that we're about to watch was filmed on June 15th, 2014, around 11 p.m. So I'm going to play that video right now. Okay. And again, while I set this up, I just want to thank everyone who's tuning in right now. I know that, this really isn't our usual setup. We usually have like a guest or something, we usually have like a guest or something like that coming on. So I definitely appreciate everyone giving this, new angle we're trying a shot. Yeah. Definitely hope everyone's, staying engaged and staying interested. So
yeah, we'd like to hear from everyone. Chime in.
Yeah, chime in. All right, so this is the Sundance, Utah video.
Yeah, that's like right here, right around this corner, I think. Oh, look, right there, stop, back up. He's right there, I just saw it. Gosh. Watch out, you're like coming off the road. Oh, pretty cool. He was huge. Oh, I scared him off. Dang. Is that it? Back there? I can't tell. It's too dark.
All right, Charlie, takeaways.
I didn't see shit.
That's why we're going to play it back.
Right there, I just saw it.
All over.
All right, so. All right, so you see that thing right there between the two trees?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now I see.
Yeah, so that's basically that figure in question is basically what they saw. So I'll just give a quick run.
Yeah.
So, like I
Got
said,
that
it
one.
was filmed June 15th, 2014. This was around 11 p.m. near Sundance, Utah. This is near Provo Canyon, huge hot spot. There's been some alleged footage there. So the driver and the filmer, they were driving along what's called the Alpine Loop. If you look on a map, it goes through, it's Utah, so it goes through a pretty densely forested area, pretty remote.
Keep talking for a second. Hold on. Just keep talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll filibuster for a second. So basically, what happened was they were driving back. They were watching the sunset or something like that, and they originally saw the creature standing the figure standing alongside the road. After they spotted it, they stopped the car, did a U-turn, and headed back to try and see it again. This video started after they did the U-turn, and they were heading back to the spot where they originally, saw the figure. So the figure in question, after you see it, after you get that blurry glimpse of it on video, the figure in question appears to have vanished when the car reversed. You look at that same exact spot; it's no longer there. The people who took this on film claimed that they didn't even know they caught anything on film at first. They didn't notice the figure until they returned home and they played their footage on a bigger screen. My thing originally is it's kind of like an eyebrow raiser that figure would still be there after their original drive-by. It's still there. They drove by, popped a UE, came back, and it hadn't moved from that. It hadn't moved from that area. I found that a little peculiar. The witnesses' reactions had definitely been questioned by some. People. It is worth noting, though, that this video was taken in a car at night with at least one other witness. I'm sure some people might know. I do a lot of the deep data dives that I do. Just looking at different aspects of reports and everything like that. Two of the most common details are people see these things. People have a lot of their supposed sightings when they're driving, and the majority of the time they have at least one other witness with them. So those two major things get checked off here. And of course,
yeah, but weren't they just saying oh, there it is, there? Weren't they just what were they looking for with the camera when they said, oh, they didn't know they caught anything on?
They didn't. Yeah, they claimed that they didn't know that they caught anything on film at that time.
But then when she say stop, look at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, she saw it. The person who was filming saw it with their eyes. Remember, this is filmed back in 2014, probably with a smartphone camera.
Right.
These things only film in 10 to 12 megapixels. Remember, the human eye could see up to 576 megapixels. So you could see something far more clear, far more detailed than a smartphone camera back then would pick up, especially something that's not focused. So I'm just throwing that out there. No events. Yeah, so being Sundance, it is a bit of a ritzy area. I did some research, tried to see if there were any events or festivals going on that could justify or potentially explain what this was. There's nothing going on. No weird festivals or costumes or anything like that. The road they were on, it's called the Alpine Loop Scenic Byway. It does run through the town of Sundance, and it goes through some pretty remote stretches, like I mentioned before it turns into Route 92.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the interesting part about this. The people who filmed it, they actually returned to that same spot, and they did a reenactment. I know.
You have that?
Yeah, I know he's kind of hit or miss with his videos, but our friend Thinker Thunker actually covered the reenactment, and he did a pretty good job breaking it down. Actually, it was definitely one of his more objective, pragmatic videos, in my opinion. So The person who they had standing in, they found the exact spot. The person who they had standing in was about 6 feet tall.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. When you compare it, like Thinker Thunker does a whole video on this. When you compare the stand-in to the figure, not only is the figure noticeably taller than the stand-in, but it's also broader. You could see, like in the video, you see like the figure in question takes up a lot of space between those two trees.
Right.
That's not really, that's not really the case for the stand-in. I don't know, again, for like copyright reasons, that's why I don't have the Thinker Thunker video up, but it's definitely, noticeably taller. I'd say just eyeing it from what I remember, at least probably 7.5 feet if that person was in fact, 6 feet or so.
Wow.
And the crazy thing too is, if you look at that video, some people say that the subject in question might have been a little further back, which
Yeah.
again, I really think gives credence to the argument that this thing was probably a lot bigger and broader than probably a lot bigger and broader than an actual person. So if it was actually further back, maybe it wasn't 7.5 feet. Maybe it could have even been taller, like 8 feet or so. Who knows?
Oh, wow.
But I was kind of, and like especially too, if you looked at just like the color scheme of it, it was like that black, and then it had that like light grayish around its face. It reminded me of a lot of Bigfoot costumes and like ape costumes that you see. They have like that black, that dark, dark fur, and they have like the light grayish face. So that's why I was kind of iffy about this video. But that reenactment and that comparison with the stand-in and that really kind of like shifted, shifted my dial on that video a lot. So I know we gotta be mindful of your battery, Charlie, but what's your updated ruling on this one before we
after hearing all that, I still, I'm still on the fence about it. I can't. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I'm not convinced that was a, Bigfoot. So, yeah. All right. Now.
Okay.
I'm running low. Yeah.
Our next one. This is the Honey Island Bigfoot footage. This was
I like this one.
The oldest, and there's a bit of a twist here. Supposedly the oldest Bigfoot alleged film of footage of Bigfoot to have been captured. It was supposedly taken in 1963. I'm going to explain why that necessarily isn't the case. So let me get this video up here. The original footage, I'm pretty certain, is actually copyrighted. So we're going to borrow our friend Phil Poling, his power breakdown video on this, and we're just going to show that. So here's what we got. There's the granddaughter. Play that. So while we play this again, what are your initial takeaways, Charlie?
Well, I think it was cool because he was in a tree, right, and hunting, right. He wasn't really
stand or something like that.
Yeah, a tree stand. And then he put this. He didn't like show it to anyone. He just kind of threw it in his old old movie reels, right? He didn't really make a big deal about it.
Yeah, so this was apparent. Yeah, so this was apparently taken. Yeah, so this footage was discovered. His name was Harlan Ford, in Mr. Ford's attic, I think by his granddaughter.
After he passed away, right?
He passed away.
So I mean, yeah, that gives it kind of some credence, unless he was a complete jokester. But I didn't really say he was, though, right? So if it was him and his buddies fooling around, he just threw it in his attic. But I don't think. I mean, I think that he was just like a regular hunter, and he just kept on seeing something, and he decided to film it. So I mean, I think this is just the backstory makes it seem, kind of legit, and just kind of seeing it, granted, it's not the clearest thing. I think the original one's a little more clear than this, but
Yeah.
I tend to,
And it kind
give
of
it a
had
thumbs up.
yeah, and it kind of had like a Patterson Gimlin film-esque thing to it. Like, the original Patterson Gimlin film, the footage before you actually see the actual, you see Patty. There's just a lot of B-roll. There's like the scenery in the woods. That's basically kind of what this footage is,
Yeah. So
like the swamps or like the cypress trees and everything like that.
but he cast some footprints too, right?
He did. So here's some of the information. When I did my research, I pulled up. So this was filmed on an 8mm camera, 8mm lens or whatever, by name is Harlan Ford. It was allegedly filmed near St. Tammany, Louisiana in 1963. That would be 4 years before the Patterson Gimlin film. I think Facebook Find Bigfoot or one of them stated that this was filmed on Super 8 film. So while standard 8mm film, that's been around since the 1930s. If this was Super 8 film that this was in fact filmed on, and Phil Poling, whose video we're showing this on, also said that appears to be the case. Super 8 film. The problem with that was Super 8 film wasn't released by Kodak until 1965. Now, his wife who survived him in an interview claimed that this footage wasn't filmed. This footage was actually filmed in the late 1970s.
Oh, really?
So between that Super 8, between the Super 8 film and that possibility that there again, it's it makes it less and less likely that this might not in fact have been filmed in the year that it supposedly.
Was it marked 1963, or did the granddaughter just assume it was filmed in 1963?
The granddaughter in interviews, that's the year that she keeps on. That's the year that she keeps on claiming 1963. Again, I'm not.
So was it labeled 1963?
That I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% sure about. It definitely worth looking into more, but I don't have an answer for that, unfortunately. But there was, Phil Poling clarifies, mentions in the video, there was supposed evidence that this could have been a prank. I haven't found anything to, corroborate that. But one interesting thing that Phil pointed out was there is a what he describes as like a jump edit, and I'll try and find it. I think it's like around here. So it's kind of like 1 minute you see it, and then 1 minute you don't. Like right here. So it's just basically like 1 minute I don't really know too much about film jargon or film terminology, but 1 minute something's not there, and then the next minute it kind of just like appears out of thin air. So that's either evidence of some sort of like edit, or it could also just be evidence of stopping and starting the camera.
Well, did his wife ever say that he was like an amateur film, student or amateur, because it looked great, or if it was first time editing?
Yeah.
So I mean, was he ever in? That's the question that they should have probably asked the wife. Well, was that his hobby, filmmaking, or so?
I mean, apparently he knew. Apparently he knew enough to operate a camera like that. So.
Right, but the editing part, I mean,
Yeah.
I could probably edit. I'd edit and look like that, but Brendan, when he edits, it looks like a piece of art, So
keep in mind though, we're dealing with like high tech, super modern cameras. This is like an 8mm, 8mm dinky ass. Like it had like a fucking like film reel that you have to like physically. That was their equivalent to memory cards back then.
All right, buddy, let's go. Let's hit the last one real quick.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want to touch on a couple of things with this. So Ford said that it was him and another buddy. They were up in that stand. They said they saw the thing on all fours behind the bushes, and they said, "What is that thing?" That's when it stood up, faced them. He said it had grayish, dingy hair around its face and body, described as having tremendous shoulders. Even said amber-colored eyes and a human-like face. Ford was an air traffic controller. He did. So Ford claimed that he found and casted 3-toe tracks afterwards.
Right.
I believe, though, it came out that he might have faked those. He might have faked those tracks. I think they found like the actual.
The actual like print or.
Yeah, like whatever he used to he used to cast them. So. Well, and the other thing too is his first. It was either his first sighting or the first sighting of like the Honey Island swamp monster was first reported in 1974, which is interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 1974. That's 7 years after the Patterson Gimlin film. That's kind of like in the midst of of like Bigfoot mania.
Yeah.
Like around the 70s, there seemed to be like a slew of
Oh, In Search Of. It was $6
Yeah.
Million Man. It was
watches and like other weird cryptids.
Yeah.
That's all of a sudden that's when like people started coming forward and claiming they're seeing that stuff all of a sudden. Like in those immediate years after the Patterson Gimlin film came out.
Maybe. Now, when did he die? He died in the 70s.
I think so. I think so.
So was it like his dying wish to his granddaughter to find this fake?
No, she just came across. She just came across it. I think while
Right, but do you think he? He's talking about the sightings didn't start until the 70s. He said he filmed it in 63. The wife says he filmed it in 1977. Maybe he did film it in 63 or 65 or whatever, and then he told his granddaughter when he was dying, "Hey, go upstairs and go find those movies."
I mean, I guess it's possible, but again, I'm not saying whatever's in this footage is or isn't, what we want it to be, but considering how the first sighting of this thing, whether it was by Ford or whoever local in the area, was in 1974. And I'm kind of more or less inclined to believe that maybe there was like some type of misinterpretation with the year. Maybe this was more likely filmed, in fact, in the 70s than 10 years earlier. So with that said, you have to take into consideration that it is possible this could have been someone in a suit. There's no way to prove or disprove that, but you have to acknowledge that possibility. One interesting thing, though, do you remember when we were in Allegheny? We were out in Allegheny about a year and a half ago, October 2020. Chuck, oh, all right. Looks like we lost Charlie. His battery died. But anyway, when we were out in Allegheny, I'd gotten there a little earlier, and I saw, I went to this bar for lunch, and concept of the topic of Bigfoot wound up popping up, and the bartender who I was speaking with, she claimed she had her own weird experience. She claimed she saw something weird in the swamps, incidentally, of Louisiana. So I'm not saying the two are connected. I'm just saying that this is like, someone totally separate. This is even before I knew about the Honey Island swamp monster footage. So, definitely a bit of like a weird history in Louisiana, down south there. I would even go to say that you could probably put an argument. I would love to do this, for like another topic. You could probably even argue that down south, the supposed evidence, video footage, photos, audio, footprints, is just as good, if not arguably even better than the stuff that's come out of the Pacific Northwest. But that's a whole other topic for a whole other time. So I'm just going to power through this final video. This is a lesser known one. It was posted on April 20th, 2013, anonymously. Another one of those weird random YouTube channels. There's only like one or two other videos that got posted. And this was filmed in Hancock, Maryland. So I'm going to play that video right now. And again, like I said, this is in Hancock, Maryland. And I'll play this first, and then I'll give you a quick breakdown on just, the information that I found from it.
What's that? Please.
All right, now let's add the shaker to the video.
What's that? Please.
All right, now let's magnify.
What's that? Please.
Let's raise the volume a little bit.
Please.
Listen to the It is very deep, very strong. Now we're going to magnify and speed it up so you can see the motion of the arm down below. Now look at, you'll see nice and low, the hand right there. And it's just a little cup right in the middle there, and a little flash of the hand as it leans out. You see the palm almost there. If you watch the white on the bottom of the hand as it leans out from the tree, through the tree, and there's a little white stop right there. Play it once so you can see it. So the palms of Bigfoot usually kind of whitish, kind of light gray. Now watch how it starts low and his hand is cupped. You'll see it there as it walks across. It's pretty cool, and you see it's nice. Almost a slope to the back to the shoulders. I don't know. This is pretty good. Listen to Ron Moorhead's Sierra Sound. It's important because you'd have to hold your breath to make that kind of sound. Okay, is the reaction of the filmer authentic? Watch this one from Castle Rock.
Do you see it? It's in the tree. Over in the trees, Mike. Do you see it? I can't get any closer with this thing. Oh, wait, there I can.
I don't see it.
Mike, right there!
But now look at it. You can kind of see that slope to the head. That's the best thing. See the high shoulders? I don't know. It looks pretty good to us. Okay.
All right, so some of that breakdown, you could argue, could be, instances of wishful thinking. But anyway, here's what I found in my research. So, like I said, this was posted on April 20th, 2013, in Hancock, Maryland. Just for reference, Hancock, Maryland. It's in like that narrow part of Maryland that separates that little sliver that really shouldn't even be part of Maryland. That separates Pennsylvania and West Virginia. And it was apparently filmed by a turkey hunter. So he supposedly posted it on YouTube the day it happened. I did do some checking in, and being April 20th, 2013, in the year 2013, I don't think it's changed since then or at all, but spring turkey season in Maryland, I think like the regular season begins April 18th and runs until May 23rd. So obviously the most, the weirdest, unique feature about this video, it's actually one of the few supposed Bigfoot videos out there where, the subject in question is caught on film making an actual vocal. And incidentally, that narrow sliver of Maryland where Hancock's located, Charlie and I, we actually cut through that area when we went to the driving to Tennessee a couple of weeks ago. I think I even remember seeing a sign for Hancock, if I remember serves me correct. Anyway, so we definitely have a definite bipedal figure here. It definitely appears to be dark brown or black in color. Looks like a solid color, but again, this was filmed on what appears to be like a smartphone or something like that. Back in 2013, so the graininess, lack of quality really prevents us from seeing more details, the type of details that we'd like. Let's see, Dave here. Is that all the video? What did the hunter do? Run. Yes and yes, Dave. Guess he got freaked out by whatever it was and bounced. I mean, you don't know how. I really try to give people the benefit of the doubt and like really reserve judgment on how people react in the situations, just mainly because all people are different, I guess, and like you really don't know you really can't say how someone should react in a situation like this. You don't know how you're going to react if you're in a situation like this yourself. So whether people run or stand their ground, and like it's kind of like a double-edged sword. I feel like you're going to undergo scrutiny regardless of what your reaction is, whether you run or stand your ground or whatever you do. So that's kind of where I'm at with that in that regard. So the vocals do sound very deep. I thought it was really interesting that the video I showed you compared it with the Sierra sounds, and I guess the way I envision it, like if I were to throw these on like a spectrograph or something like that, I wouldn't be surprised. I should do that. I wouldn't be surprised if the signatures of those whoa on the Sierra sounds and this creature made had some, at the very least, some type of like semblance to each other. So that's something I could definitely follow up on. But that's something I'll try and like follow up on and do. So there's that. There he is. He's back.
What's up, brother, man? Sorry about that.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. So
Yeah, I missed the last video, but yeah, it was well. Good job on getting it all together and everything like that, brother, man. It was awesome. Had a good time.
Yeah, I'll play you the. I could play you the next video real quickly just to get your reaction. Let me just throw this up. Okay. So you've probably seen this one before, Charlie. I definitely posted it a couple of times in the CARC Facebook group. This was filmed in spring 2013
Right.
in Hancock, Maryland.
Okay.
So here's what we got.
Hills and mountains, north and south of it.
What is that? What is?
All right, now let's add the shaker to the video.
What is that? What is?
All right, now let's magnify.
What is that? What is?
Let's raise the volume a little bit.
What is?
Listen to the It is very deep, very strong. We're going to magnify and speed it up so you can see the motion of the arm.
Okay. April 20th, 2013. 2 days into when spring turkey season begins in Maryland. It's from April 18th to May 23rd. So just based off that there, what are some of, what are your initial takeaways on that?
I don't know. The guy seemed to be a little dramatic and almost like he was looking. You know what I mean? He was looking. He was going to find something and then react to it. Basically, does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of almost as if like the way you interpret it, kind of almost as if like he was anticipating that. Like
Yeah,
it sounded like staged. Okay.
yeah, staged.
So one interesting thing that this video does is it compares that sound that the subject made to the Sierra sound. So I'm going to play those for you.
Slope to the back to the shoulders. I don't know. This is pretty good. Listen to Ron Moorhead's Sierra sound. it's important because you'd have to hold your breath to make that kind of sound. Okay, is the reaction of the
We're not going to do that. So what I was explaining too, when you comment, if I put those, if I put those two sounds that the subject in the Maryland video made, and those whoa coming out of the Sierra sounds, I wouldn't be surprised if on like a spectrograph or something like that, they at least had some sort of
Similar.
some sort of semblance, like resemble each
Yeah.
other. The signatures at the very least. So I thought that was a real interesting, pretty smart, interesting comparison to make. The vocal definitely sounds very deep. It was kind of like, quality wise, it was definitely kind of grainy. Again, I think this might have been some wishful thinking on, I think this was another Facebook Find Bigfoot video part, but he claims you could see the cone-shaped head, the broad shoulders. Again, I'm not too sure about that. One interesting thing though, I think it was on Reddit. I actually found fairly recently, about like a year ago, a Reddit post from someone who claimed that they were interacting with something making like wood knocks on the other side of a river,
Really?
near Hancock, Maryland.
Really?
Yeah. So I kind of thought, thought that was rather interesting. But again, like what makes this video unique. And again, I know I'm repeating myself to people who are watching, but just to catch you up to spring up to speed, Charlie. This is one of the few supposed videos out there where the subject in question is filmed making like an actual noise, an actual like So that's really what makes it, what I think makes it interesting. Again, like it's really, you really can't gauge like its height or anything like that.
Yeah, but the only thing now with that sound, the sound that it made though, was it trying to scare me? Because it didn't sound like it was an intimidating sound. It just sounded like you know what I mean? So, if you wanted to be intimidating and scare the guy away, wouldn't you think it would have been a lot louder? Maybe moving some of the trees, maybe being a little more aggressive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, that's all good. All good points. All that, though, that's definitely an excellent point. Again, I guess I guess that's pretty subjective.
Yeah, I guess it's like the reports you see. It's either walking away or they're really aggressive. It's not like, hey, what's up? You know what I mean? And then for the guy to overreact, you know what I mean? Because that didn't sound. I mean, obviously, if I saw one in the woods, I'd probably have the similar reaction. But for him to be like, "Oh my god," you know what I mean? It's not like he was running after him or anything like that. It was just like, ugh,
And plus, we don't know how loud. We don't know like how loud that was either. Like for all we know, it could have been so loud. Like how sometimes you could feel a sound go right through you.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's true.
Who's to say that didn't happen?
Yeah.
And I was saying before, like, it doesn't matter how you react, whether you stand your ground, whether you run away. It's like a double-edged sword, like you're always going to get scrutinized and questioned over your reaction. I just feel like everyone's different. You don't there's really no set way to react to an encounter like this, especially, like when you get it on film. I think you have 10 different instances like this, people are probably going to react like, 10 different ways.
Yeah. I mean, 5 years ago, like I said in the beginning of the show, I probably would have been like, oh my God, it's a big, you know what I mean? And been like totally on board. But now just knowing the time and the effort it takes to get some type of experience, you know what I mean? And, obviously not knowing what I would do to, obviously when I saw what I saw, I reached for my phone for, a couple seconds and then it was gone. So, I was more curious than, oh my God, you know what I mean? So but yet he's in the middle of the woods and, I don't know who's with him or if he's by himself, but, so that could be scary too. But like I said, it's just, I don't know. It's I give him credit for filming it and putting it out there. And, definitely for being boots in the ground and in the woods looking for it, but I just can't take the.
He was supposedly turkey hunting when this happened. But,
so he had a gun. So he had a gun with him then.
I would assume so. I guess that's probably shotgun season. Keep in mind, it is Maryland. I think even back then their gun laws are relatively strict. So I think you definitely have to take that into consideration, especially when you have shades of doubt of what you're looking at. But yeah,
I hear them.
He probably had to have been packing or something like that when this happened. So.
But that doesn't seem like thing. If you're that scared, wouldn't you reach for your gun and say, "Hey, listen, I'm armed." You know what I mean? Or you know what I mean? Because sometimes you see you get these people that are like, I'm armed. You know what I mean? So if he's a hunter and you have something with you, wouldn't you send a warning to someone saying, "Hey, don't come closer." But like I said, I don't know. It's not really my position to be a critic. Give these people a lot of credit for doing what they do. So.
Literally all we could do is speculate. So, looks like we're running out. We're just about out of time. So,
all right.
What's your? What's your prognosis? What's your ruling on that one before we wrap up?
Yeah, that's still undecided. Undecided. Yeah.
Yeah, seems like that was the case. That was the case for a lot of these videos. Undecided, but definitely convincing though.
It keeps it gets you back. It keeps you interested in the subject, and it keeps you definitely clicking on more videos to see, as part of the research, doing the videos. But no, I think this was a great show, man, and thanks for thinking of it. And we'll get 5 more and do it again.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely try and do more topical shows like this. This moving forward. Again, I know we had to kind of scramble with those.
Yeah.
I think we pulled it off towards the end. Anyone's watching, I definitely hope you guys enjoyed yourselves, found this interesting and engaging and whatnot.
There you go, David. Appreciate you hanging out for so long, buddy.
Yeah,
appreciate that. Thanks, Dave.
If we're able to have keep one person engaged, entertained like that throughout this whole time, then I think we definitely did our job.
Yeah. So we'll have to work on getting a couple more. But yeah, Dave, thank you so much for tuning in and being so responsive and asking the questions and stuff and comments. So
all right, well, looks like that's all.
Right.
Looks like that's all the time we have. Mike Lucci, Chuck Larson, everyone, thanks for tuning in tonight. Definitely hope you enjoyed everything we had in store. We'll be back next Wednesday, 7 p.m. What do we have going on next week?
I think it's Gwen, isn't it?
I believe so. Looks like no. So on the 17th, Brendan's going to be on with Ben Radford. So that should definitely be in.
Wow, cool.
Oh, I think Charlie. I think you and I are off until the end of August. So the 30th.
Get out of here! Really?
Yeah. So until then.
All right, brother. Well, we'll see. No, in 2 weeks we'll see each other.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, for our next expedition. So hopefully we'll have.
I'm going through withdrawals, Mike. I got to spend 7 hours in a car with you now. I don't know what to do with myself. Actually, I'm sorry. It wasn't 7 hours. It was 10 hours. 11 hours.
All right, everyone. Well, for the crew from behind tall trees, Mike Lucci, Chuck Larson, signing off. Guys, next time.
Later.
Hey, this is Chuck Larson. You're watching the CARC channel on YouTube.
You've been watching From Behind Tall Trees, a Catskill Appalachian Research Collective production. For more information on this program and others like it, remember to like, share, and subscribe to CARC Universal today. To join the conversation on our Facebook group, become a member of the Catskill Appalachian Research Collective Facebook group. CARC.